Have you ever sat quietly at home, maybe with a warm cup of coffee in hand, and thought, I just don't feel like visiting anyone today? Not because you're upset, not because you don't care, but simply because, well, you'd rather stay in your own space. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. As we grow older, something begins to shift. The pull to be everywhere, to show up at every gathering, to visit out of obligation, it starts to fade. And you might find yourself wondering, is it okay that I'm not as social as I used to be? In today's video, we're going to explore 6 heartfelt reasons why it's perfectly normal and even healthy to visit people less often as you age. This isn't about isolation. It's about wisdom, about choosing peace, comfort, and meaningful connection over draining routines. So if you've ever felt a little guilty about turning down an invitation or choosing rest over running around town, this video is for you. Let's start with the first reason, one that many of us quietly feel but rarely say out loud. Saving your energy for the people who truly matter. Because the truth is, your energy is no longer unlimited, and that's okay. As we grow older, our energy doesn't stretch quite as far as it used to. What once felt like a simple outing, a drive across town, an evening at a busy restaurant, or a long chat at someone else's home, can now leave us feeling drained instead of fulfilled. This isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. We begin to realize that our energy is a precious resource, one we should spend where it counts. Take Mr. Walter, for instance, an 82-year-old gentleman I met while visiting Florida. For years, he made a weekly 40-minute drive to a poker game with some old acquaintances. They were nice folks, he told me, but I always came home more tired than happy. These days, he spends that same time sharing coffee and stories with his neighbor Earl. Just a few steps outside his door, less effort, more connection, and more joy. The shift isn't about being antisocial, it's about being intentional. Instead of spreading ourselves thin, we begin focusing our attention on relationships that truly nourish us. We find peace in saying no without guilt and yes with enthusiasm. Here's something simple you can try. Take a look at your week ahead. Is there something on your calendar that drains you more than it lifts you? What if you replaced it with a phone call to someone who makes you laugh, or a quiet morning doing something you enjoy? Little swaps like that can make a big difference in how you feel, both physically and emotionally. So the next time you hesitate before saying yes to an invitation, remember this. It's okay to choose rest. It's okay to protect your energy. Because when you do, the moments you do share with others become even more meaningful. Coming off the idea of saving our energy for what truly matters, there's another kind of emotional weight many of us begin to recognize. The kind that comes from unnecessary drama. And with age, the beauty is we finally give ourselves permission to let it go. The older we get, the more clearly we see this. Peace isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. We've been through enough life to know what stirs joy and what stirs unrest. And slowly, gently, we begin to choose differently. Gossip, judgment, and emotional roller coasters that once felt like part of the package now feel like clutter, heavy, distracting, and simply not worth our time. Grace, a retired school teacher, told me a story that stuck with me. For years, she attended family dinners out of tradition, but the conversation always turned sour. Debates over politics, passive-aggressive remarks, and no room to just breathe. One day, she said, I just stopped going. I sit outside now and watch the birds while I eat. I feel more connected to life in those quiet moments than I ever did at that table. Letting go of drama isn't about turning your back on people. It's about choosing environments where your spirit feels light, not tense, where your presence is appreciated, not picked apart. When we prioritize peace, we often find that our health improves, our sleep deepens, and our days feel a little brighter. Here's something to consider. Is there a recurring social event that leaves you feeling worse afterward? Maybe it's a gathering, a phone call, or even an online chat. If it consistently brings tension rather than joy, give yourself the grace to step away. Remember, this isn't selfishness. This is self-respect. Saying no to chaos means saying yes to calm, and that calm is exactly what your heart has earned over the years. After letting go of unnecessary stress and embracing your right to peace, it's only natural to find yourself drawn more and more to the quiet sanctuary of home. And for many of us, that shift is one of the most comforting parts of aging. There's a reason we say, there's no place like home. But as we grow older, it becomes more than a simple saying. It becomes a lifestyle. Home is where we set the pace. It's where we know every corner, where the chair fits just right, and where the noise level never exceeds our comfort. In a world that sometimes feels too fast or too loud, home becomes our gentle anchor. Raymond, a 76-year-old widower, shared something that stayed with me. For years, he drove to his sister's house every Sunday. It was tradition, but over time, that weekly visit began to feel like more effort than joy. I used to feel guilty not going, he said, but now I just call her. We laugh just as much, and I still get to sip tea in my robe. And that's the beauty of it. Staying home doesn't mean disconnecting. It means connecting on your own terms. Maybe that means inviting someone over for a cozy afternoon chat. Or maybe it's a video call while you're wrapped in your favorite blanket. The setting doesn't matter as much as the feeling it brings. Here's a gentle suggestion. The next time you feel torn between staying in or going out, listen to what your body's telling you. If home feels like the right place to be, honor that. Because when we care for ourselves first, we show up better for everyone else too. You've built your home to feel safe, warm, and yours. Choosing it more often isn't isolation. It's an act of self-love. After finding peace in your own space, it becomes easier to notice another quiet shift. Your circle of friends may begin to shrink. But here's the beautiful part. Even as the number of people in your life lessens, the quality of those relationships often grows stronger than ever. In fact, many older adults find that fewer social obligations allow for deeper, more meaningful conversations. It's no longer about staying in touch with everyone. It's about staying close to those who truly matter. The goal is no longer to be everywhere, but to be present where your heart feels most at home. Evelyn, a retired librarian I spoke with, used to keep a jam-packed planner. Every week was filled with lunch dates, phone calls, and social events. But one year she forgot her best friend's birthday, not because she didn't care, but because she was too overwhelmed juggling a dozen shallow connections. It hit me, she said. I was giving my time to people who didn't even notice when I was hurting. So she made a change. Evelyn now stays connected with just a small group of close friends, those who check in, listen deeply, and offer kindness without expectations. And for her, those friendships feel more nourishing than any crowded calendar ever could. This kind of clarity doesn't come from being lonely. It comes from finally knowing who you are and what truly matters. It's okay to let go of relationships that feel one-sided or draining. Not every friendship is meant to last forever. And that's perfectly normal. Here's something you can try today. Take a quiet moment and write down the names of 3 people who consistently uplift you. Then reach out, send a message, make a call, or even write a note. Sometimes it's the smallest gestures that bring the biggest sense of connection. Because in the end, it's not about how many people are in your life. It's about how deeply you connect with the few who remain. Once we begin to focus on the few relationships that truly matter, something else often emerges. A new awareness of how we want to spend our time. Retirement, for many, is not a retreat from life, but a reimagining of it. The hustle fades, and in its place, a quiet question arises. What brings me joy now? Your time, more than ever, is sacred, and what you choose to do with it can deeply shape your days. This chapter of life isn't about filling every hour with appointments. It's about being intentional. Whether that means starting a garden, picking up a paintbrush, keeping a journal, or simply sitting on the porch to watch the sunrise, these moments are not small. They are meaningful. They are yours. Samuel, a once busy community organizer I met at a wellness event, shared something that really struck me. I used to give speeches to hundreds of people, he said, but now walking by the lake each morning gives me more peace than applause ever did. That shift didn't happen overnight. It came from listening to what his heart needed and giving himself permission to follow it. And that's what this stage of life offers. Permission. Permission to slow down, to let go of obligations that no longer serve you, to redesign your days around what fills you up instead of what wears you down. Here's something simple but powerful. Ask yourself, if I could design my perfect day, what would it include? A cup of coffee in silence, a short walk under the trees, writing a letter to someone you love? Then find a way to bring just 10 minutes of that vision into your life tomorrow. It doesn't have to be grand, just consistent, because the more we honor these new priorities, the quiet joys, the mindful choices, the more we discover a life that fits us perfectly, like a favorite old sweater, warm, soft, and completely our own. And finally, as we grow more confident in choosing how we spend our time, there's one more truth that gently rises to the surface. The friendships that matter most don't rely on constant contact. They exist in a deeper place, a kind of quiet loyalty that doesn't fade with distance or time. Some of the most beautiful connections in life are the ones that can pause and pick up again without skipping a beat. They're like stars, always there, even if clouds sometimes block the view. Elaine, a soft-spoken retired nurse, used to feel guilty for skipping coffee dates with her old friends. She worried that being less available meant she was letting them down. But then, after 6 months of silence, her friend Margaret called. They laughed, caught up, and felt as close as ever. That's when I knew, Elaine told me. Real bonds don't break. They bend, and then come right back. If you've ever felt pressured to stay in constant touch just to prove you care, take heart. A friendship built on understanding doesn't demand your time. It values your presence whenever it comes. And if someone makes you feel guilty for needing space, it might be time to lovingly reassess that connection. Instead, lean into the relationships that feel natural and comforting, the ones where you can be fully yourself. These are the friendships that hold up no matter how much time passes between conversations. Here's something you can try this week. Think of someone you haven't spoken to in a while, someone who always made you feel heard. Reach out, even with a simple message. Chances are they'll be just as glad to hear from you as you are to reconnect. True friendship isn't about constant contact. It's about trust, care, and showing up in the moments that matter most, even if those moments are months apart. Aging isn't about slowing down. It's about choosing wisely. You are not disappearing. You are becoming selective, like a gardener tending only to the flowers that bloom best. These years are yours. Spend them where love, comfort, and meaning grow. In the best part, when you do choose to visit, your presence will feel even more special, both to you and to them. As we wrap up, think of everything we've explored together, not as a list of reasons to pull back, but as an invitation to step more fully into a life that reflects who you are now. You've grown, evolved, and gained the clarity to know what brings peace and what doesn't, and that is something worth honoring. Here's the good news. There's no one right way to stay connected or live fully. Whether you spend your time walking by the lake, reading on your porch, or chatting with an old friend once every few months, it all counts. it all matters. So give yourself permission to embrace this season with open arms and a calm heart. If this message brought you comfort, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts or a small change you plan to make this week in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, consider subscribing so we can keep growing together. Until next time, take care of yourself gently and never forget, your presence is a gift, even when it's quiet.